Hello and welcome. You're watching DD India with me, Akshay Dongre, and you're watching our special program, Voice of the Global South, a show that brings to you stories, news, achievements, and concerns of a rising aspirational world. So let us begin with today's episode. The Global South nations' quest for stronger and stable economies to provide a better lifestyle for their nations has a new challenge now, and it is climate change. While there are certain impacts of climate change that are more visible, like extreme weather patterns and natural disasters, the economic impact is equally devastating for many.
Climate change has created an impact globally and is affecting communities worldwide. The developing nations of the Global South bear the adverse effects of climate changes even after significantly contributing less to global carbon emissions. The result is rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and agricultural disruptions threatening lives and livelihoods in these regions. Temperature in Argentina rose up to 36 degrees Celsius, with Argentine National Meteorological Services issuing a weather alert for extreme heat in most of the country. As a result of climate change in the region, relentless heat wave has gripped the nation. Residents seek respite from the oppressive heat with communal showers. Maximum temperatures are expected to reach 38 degrees Celsius in the coming days.
Everything is melting. In the city's downtown is complicated. Here we are near the river. You can feel a little breeze. Over there, it is hell.
Water scarcity in Mexico City, one of Latin America's largest capitals, is sparking protest in some neighborhoods over weeks-long dry spells as officials warn of unprecedented low levels in a main system that supplies millions of people. Water shortages are not unusual in many parts of Mexico, but the bustling city and suburbs of 21 million people are buckling under the pressure of less captured rainfall, largely blamed on climate change and outdated infrastructure.
Rainfall has been decreasing from 2019 to date, and the reduction in rainfall has been constant over the last 4 or 5 years. This has led to the Cutzamala system dams having very little stored water. So it has been necessary for gradual reduction in collaboration with the National Water Commission and the Water Commission of the State of Mexico. So at the moment, we only have half the water we received in 2019 from the Cutzamala system.
Meanwhile, Peru, located in west part of South America, witnessed dramatic scenes after homes were buried in a landslide triggered by torrential rain in swaths. An avalanche caused damage to infrastructure in Joral, in Peru's central coastal area.
Please, we want a solution. The water is coming from above and is coming all at once. Look what has happened. All the walls of the neighboring house have all fallen down. There are about 6 families affected here.
According to a recent study by World Weather Attribution, an international group of scientists, climate change is the main culprit for a record drought in the Amazon rainforest that has drained rivers, killed endangered dolphins, and upended lives of millions of people in the region. Coastal regions where sea level rises and storm surges are presently causing flooding, erosion, and saltwater infiltration, which can have a negative impact on livelihoods and lead to displacement. Indigenous communities are particularly vulnerable to climate change as they rely on natural resources for their livelihoods and are often associated with land-based activities. Global warming made the drought 30 times more likely, drove extreme heat temperatures, and contributed to lower rainfall, majorly impacting nations and economies of the Global South.
A health crisis emerging from global warming. Yes, you have heard it right. Many nations of the Global South are seeing an uptick in diseases and infections due to the rising temperatures. Dengue is one such disease wreaking havoc in South America.
Rising temperatures and the El Nino weather condition have another surprising impact on the world, especially the Global South. A health crisis erupting out of climate change. In the Pacific, the rising temperatures are contributing to an amber surge in dengue seasons and spread of infections. The number of dengue fever cases has already reached hundreds in 2024 in the Caribbean and South America. Cases in South America have spiked by 15.8% as compared to a year earlier. By the end of the first week of December, Brazil had registered 1.6 million cases of dengue in 2023, prompting it to roll out a novel vaccine campaign. Starting January, Brazil started spraying insecticide across city streets to control the spread of the disease. In order to handle the hike in dengue cases, hospitals in Paraguay have set up night clinics.
This stint has been essential for the population of Brazil's federal district, as there is an overload in the health units and a high number of dengue cases. We see an average of 300 to 350 dengue patients a day, and this week, from Saturday till today, we have seen more than 1,200 cases.
In the hospital in general, we have a total of 10 patients and we have one death due to dengue fever. He died in therapy. The dengue epidemic is on the rise and this area is going to be where patients requiring hospitalization will be staying.
Brazil's capital, Brasilia, had patients lined up outside temporary medical facilities set up to test for dengue. Some areas have seen around 241% increase in dengue infections in the first 2 weeks of January as compared to last year. Trucks were used to spray insecticide in the worst hit areas under the foggy operations to slow transmission.
Today is one of my good days because I get to open my eyes. I get to be calm.
The December-February southern summer months bring ideal hot and humid conditions for mosquitoes to breed, spreading the potentially fatal disease that can cause high fever, muscle pain, and internal bleeding. As per the World Health Organization, dengue is rising because of global warming, along with other factors including urbanization and problems with sanitation. Other factors behind the spread of dengue are floods triggered by heavy rains and melting glaciers driven by climate change. Dengue has become more common in the global south countries because of the large populations, and the climate and environment are favorable for the breeding of mosquitoes. Due to the lack of resources and infrastructure, the control over the disease becomes difficult. The increase in population of these countries with inadequate housing, sanitation, water supply, sewage, and waste management systems has also contributed to the spread of the virus. Unplanned urbanization has resulted in flooding, making dengue endemic in many urban areas of the global south nations, and frequent outbreaks of the disease continue to occur.
According to University of Delaware's report, the world is estimated to be $1.5 trillion poorer than it would have been without climate change. The low and middle income economies have experienced $2.1 trillion in produced capital losses due to climate change. As per the Center for Science and Environment data, by 2030, the loss and damage for developing countries could be between $290 to $580 billion. The World Meteorological Organization states that annual economic losses from climate and weather-related disasters have significantly increased since 2000s. The economic impact of climate change vary between developed and developing economies. The countries with fewer resources are disproportionately affected and bear loss of life, investment, and the economy. The World Bank reports that by 2050, 200 million people will migrate within their own countries, pushing up to 130 million people into poverty due to climate change. The climate crisis has a negative impact on health services as global warming results in increased water shortages, directly affecting water quality and cleanliness, leading to spread of many diseases. Frequent floods and severe natural disasters by gradual changes in climate change has impacted food production as well as consumption. There are several climate factors that contribute to the increasing risk of spreading of diseases. Most of the epidemics are consequences of El Nino phenomena in the recent years caused by climate change, leading to increasing temperatures and high rainfall. Damage faced because of climate-related disasters also contribute to the political and financial instabilities in countries facing complex humanitarian crises and high population movements. Another serious impact of climate change is unavailability of water as increased evaporation and changes in rainfall patterns and runoff impact water availability. If not worked upon, climate change can disrupt traditional lifestyles and cultural practices, as well as lead to land degradation and biodiversity loss. We will take a small break here and be back with more Global South stories on the other side. Keep watching.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India, and this is Voice of the Global South. Let's move on to our next stories. The world is suffering due to careless development of the 19th and 20th century using fossil fuels, which has intensified global warming. First impact is being faced by the countries of the Global South, who are suffering the most and have now taken upon themselves to battle this crisis.
10 million households with rooftop solar panels for cleaner, greener energy is an ambitious goal set by the Indian Prime Minister. Under the government's energy transition plans, solar power is expected to make up 292 gigawatt out of a total renewable capacity of 500 gigawatt by 2030. Indian Finance Minister, during the annual budget speech, spoke about the benefits of the usage of solar panels.
Through rooftop solarization, 1 crore households will be enabled to obtain up to 300 units free electricity every month, savings up to 15 to 18,000 rupees annually for households from free solar electricity and selling the surplus to the distribution companies.
In Indonesia, earlier last year, President Joko Widodo inaugurated a 192 megawatt peak floating solar power plant on a reservoir in West Java province as part of a drive to increase renewable energy sources and move away from coal. In Colombia, capital Bogota streets were empty recently as the city went car-free in an effort to curb traffic and air pollution. With tough restrictions in place for the day, only public transport vehicles such as taxis and buses were allowed on the capital's roads. The decision came after a week the capital was shrouded in smoke due to wildfires. With an aim to control rising temperatures, especially in the summer due to desertification, Iraq has embarked on planting 7,000 mangrove trees around the Grand Fort port in oil-rich southern Basra province. This is to reduce soil erosion and provide a better environment for marine life and migratory birds. Mangrove trees have been proven to raise the percentage of oxygen twice as much as regular trees and also protect the coast from erosion and have a high tolerance for salinity.
Mangrove trees are one of the most important trees. And we benefit from this tree in several ways, including protection from climate change. In addition, this reserve raises the percentage of oxygen. According to advanced international studies, the mangrove trees raises the percentage of oxygen twice as much as regular trees, and it pulls out carbon dioxide.
Most countries across the global south have some of the lowest per capita carbon emissions. Yet, the region faces some of the worst impacts of the climate change. And now, these countries are taking the responsibility of battling the crisis on their own shoulders, most of the time with little to no help from the so-called First World.
West Africa is witnessing a major rift among the countries as three nations of the region, Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso, have decided to quit a major economic bloc.
A major rift in West Africa has erupted after three-member nations, Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso, in a joint statement announced their withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, a regional economic bloc that has been urging them to return to democratic rule.
Leur Excellence le Capitaine Ibrahim Traoré,
Captain Ibrahim Tauri, Colonel Assimi Goita, and Brigadier General Abdurrahman Tiani, the respective heads of the states of Burkina Faso, the Republic of Mali, and the Republic of Niger, taking full responsibility before history and responding to the expectations, concerns, and aspirations of their people, decide in full sovereignty to withdraw Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger from the economic community of the West African states, effective immediately.
The West African junta-led states, all ruled by military officers who have seized power in coups since 2020. The three neighboring states have accused the 15-member bloc of lack of support and imposing inhuman sanctions to reverse recent coups in their respective countries. They said the bloc had offered little support against insurgencies that have killed thousands and displaced over 2 million.
ECOWAS is not a monetary union, it's an economic union. As such, economic issues, trade matters, custom issues and tariff matters should be at the heart of the debate in our country. In this respect, Mali has comparative advantage in terms of our exit from ECOWAS. We will ensure our endogenous development, which will create wealth, create jobs and ensure the redistribution of income.
Since the coups, the military leaders have failed to provide a clear timetable for return to constitutional rule and have alleged to abandon their founding ideals, falling under the influence of foreign powers. The three countries have cut ties with France and turned to Russia for security support. They have also sought to forge closer security, political and economic ties through a new union called the Alliance of Sahel States. In turn, the junta leaders assert their stand against what they perceive as the West African bloc's deviation from its founding principles, its inadequate support against Islamic insurgencies, and the influence of foreign powers.
Après 49 ans d'existence,
After 49 years, the valiant people of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger regretfully and with great disappointment observed that the organization has drifted from the ideals of its founding fathers and the spirit of Pan-Africanism. They argued that the ECOWAS under the foreign influence betrayed its founding principles and became a threat to its member states and their populations, which it was supposed to ensure the well-being of.
est devenu une menace.
Mais qu'est-ce que nous avons vu? What have we seen? Civil presidents, even coup leaders to the core, have set themselves up in the name of development and have undertaken to divert the ECOWAS from its major objectives of economic integration to turn it into a political union.
ECOWAS has called on all three countries to return to civilian rule. The bloc states that member states must give a written one-year notice before withdrawal. Until then, the countries must continue to abide by the treaty provisions. The official withdrawal from the bloc may lead to trade and service disruptions that is worth $150 billion a year. This will give rise to deepening regional economic and political instability within West Africa. Being a part of the bloc, visa and free travel to neighboring countries provide access to work and will impact lives of millions of its nationalists. The impact on the bloc of the trilateral decision of the countries to withdraw from the organization where goods and citizens move freely is yet awaited.
ECOWAS, the economic community of West African states, consists of heads of states and government of 15 West African countries. ECOWAS, the economic community of West African states, consists of heads of state and government of 15 West African countries. The ECOWAS treaty was signed on the 28th of May in 1975 in Lagos, Nigeria. The Treaty of Lagos was signed by 15 heads of states and governments with a mission to promote economic integration across the region. The ECOWAS region spreads across an area of 5.2 million square kilometers with its headquarters in Abuja, Nigeria. The joint forces of Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso have formed an alliance of Sahel states. Few months ago, though these countries are small economies, but trade and services in Nigeria and other countries will be affected the most because of their strategic location. In response to the ECOWAS sanctions, if the three African nations impose counter-sanctions, many West African countries, including Nigeria, will have negative impact on their economies. Many ECOWAS countries use these three countries as passageways. But post-withdrawal, it may affect the major trade routes and free movement of goods and people within the ECOWAS countries. Withdrawal by these countries will worsen the economic situation and make it more difficult to tackle issues of terrorism, insurgency, banditry and kidnapping in the continent. A report by the Nigerian Ports and Consultative Council (NPCC) showed a decrease of 4.5% in the total of ships at Nigerian ports. 3,778 ships were berthed at all Nigerian ports in 2023, as against the 3,957 that berthed in 2022. Inward cargo in 2023 also witnessed a decline of 6.4%. This is all we have for you in this edition of Voice of the Global South. Let us know your thoughts on the show. You can also connect with us on X, Instagram and Facebook. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching our special program. News and updates continue on DD India. Keep watching.